Hey guys, so I'm just gonna do another one of these quick off the cuff videos. Less of I'm kind of running a little bit dry on book reviews, mainly because I don't know, I just kind of I feel once I start them, if I start there's a kind of certain element or this certain standard of like quality or of like putting in time in the not just like reading the book, but which I actually do enjoy for the most part, even if there's some parts where it's like it seems like I'm kind of a little bit tough getting through them, like they're challenging kind of reads. Some of them are pretty big. But even like books that are like really like quantitatively like really big tomes, like I still kind of am able to, I don't know where that thought was going. But yeah, so I'm just going through my stuff here. Like I don't know if you can see that really well. um I do have another thing here too. I have a little tripod here that I don't know if I just felt like, I guess I can, it's kind of hands-free almost. I can just do that. I guess I could do that for a little bit. But yeah, you can see. But then again, you can't really see what I'm doing on the computer screen, so I'm just so yeah, so I'm basically running through a very, very, very rough draft of like these two different novels. One of them is called The Gospel According to Ewell, as in Uwell, and he's basically a kind of a Southern Gothic kind of character, almost a little bit of a partly eccentric, a little bit almost savant syndrome, but there's nothing really. He's got a lot of wisdom and like a weird amount of his life. His life ends up echoing Christ in a way. I think I said that. I don't know if I mentioned the story already. But yeah, so the Gospel According to Ewell is basically the pretty much gonna call it for now. And the manuscripts are they're gonna be found on a kind of, I don't know if it's a I don't know if it's quite something fancy as like a quarto kind of paper, like a wax kind of tinted thing. But if they, I do, I would like these to be found after his, I don't want to spoil it, but after his, they're tied up and they're disappear. There's kind of a disappearance going on, but yeah. So these, but yeah. So there's certain things here where it's like it starts kind of like, with kind of from the point of view of somebody who finds these manuscripts and like is trying to be true to the keeping the style and all that. So, but then after you get through that, it starts with, and I'm trying to adopt that kind of Southern style. I know Nick Cave wrote a book called The Ass Saw the Angel, which I quite enjoyed. I thought it was a little bit almost too pastiche, not like a straight, as in like stealing from Flanagan O'Connor or William Faulkner, but it felt like a little bit like from the point of view of this guy who's I can't. It's been like 3 or 4 years since I read it, but yeah, there's I can't. It was it was like a kind of short period when I read it too, but it's basically this guy who's kind of a little bit of savant too, where he's like kind of he's talks in kind of a southern drawl, but he writes in a southern drawl too. So that's the funny thing too, is that it's written down to keep true to that. Nick Cave wrote in a that kind of parlance, I think, dialect. But anyway, so yeah, here it's like the first sentence. It's like where to start. That's something I don't think I'd ever ask myself in a million years. My name is UL/Everett L. Guston. That's my Christian name. Actually, I changed it to UL Armistead. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm gonna have to change that. But that's my Christian name. Born and named at the heart of Louisiana, or that's what they say. That's almost like a Nick Cave thing too. It's like, at least that's what they say. It's like the mercy seat, yeah. Which is kind of goes like, it's like and the mercy seat was rising, and there's and this is on and I for 9 tooth for a tooth, and I got nothing left to lose, and all that nothing on use. Unless you feel the fire. don't do it. Anyway, I just figured the piano was there, and I was just like, Anyway, I like to do a kind of full band, not full band, but kind of a fully produced cover of that some of these days, but that's another thing. But yeah, so he says in 1931, so that makes him about 30 or 31, I think, which is around the same time Jesus was at the start of his ministry, so it's very, very much in line with that, but he keeps denying these similarities as the story goes on, strangely enough. Very Flannery O'Connor in that sense as well. So I was never educated properly, but that's for sure. My folks had hard enough time keeping me through school. Matter of fact, I got in so much trouble that I switched schools almost a dozen times, even though we only moved 3 times. As for me, I'm as southern as it gets. My hair is blonde, but not the pure German Scandinavian kind. It's a dirty, strawberry kind. I've been told my eyes are intensely hazel, but I never cared to check. So you get a lot of aloof kind of. He just does not care about anything. You glean that kind of, I don't know. When I was 7, I had the bright idea of washing myself, and I spilt lye in my one of my eyes, and I can hardly seen it ever since. I don't know how that continuity is going to work, because I think I only noticed that I forgot to keep check of like how, if that will. So in other words, but it's also maybe not that big of a deal, because UL is the main character, is a very unreliable narrator. He has a lot of faults with the way he presents his own narrative. It's very desultory. Like, it's not fixed, it's not rooted in 100%, it's not even close to rooted in like reality at some points, because it's like some points he gets like full schizo and schizophrenic, and other times he's like, but I count it as a blessing in disguise, the blind eye, because it practically blinds me halfway from seeing this trash town. I've worked in factories, steel mills, fumigating homes, in a short 8-month stint in the army, which throughout my 3 decades of existence, I've made a living working in the same place that birthed this town into this sorry existence. My family was raised into whiskey, church, and guns, and I reckon they couldn't change if they tried. Anyway, so yeah, I guess I want to kind of keep on almost poetic, occasionally poetic kind of thing, where he kind of oscillates between these 2 kind of things, where he's like very in denial, or one part of him is a very, like Hazel Motes of Rise Blood, is very like just kind of wandering through life, doesn't really have any nothing really rooting him down, nothing really but then he's able to kind of divinate, or he's able to kind of miraculously, without actually anything, but he's able to kind of get he's able to get a following of, like, he goes to a circus, and he gets, like, there's a kind of arc that he has of falling in, I don't know, has an affinity or soft spot for the freaks of the world, like the untoward kind of rejected kind of misfits of the world. That's a big thing, the misfits. And he's looking to, even though he doesn't believe in God, and he goes into churches, and he's like very much causing trouble, because he's been in and out of, like, basically, churches and stuff that abused him, or borderline, not like straight up. I didn't want to go into that whole thing of like, oh, like, well, the reason why he's this way is because he's been massively abused ever since you can remember, that every single second, every light of day, his mother would abuse him and his own father. I didn't want to do that, but I did want to kind of add a little bit why he's like that way. But that one of his fathers, or his original father, used to, similar way to Marjorie Gortner with like the preacher, where he's like, even though he's not like my character wasn't really supposed to be a young preacher, but a little bit alluding to that, in the sense that Marjorie Gortner was held underneath. He was like, to make him memorize these certain things. He was done everything, like, from, I think, slightly drowned just enough to kind of like get him to find. It was like really awful. But it was nothing that would leave any kind of mark, because they wanted to keep him like to be clean and in front of like all these church ladies at church, because he was supposed to be a preacher, and that he's supposed to be kind of chosen by God at the age of 8. And you can hear these old like recordings from like the 50s and 60s, I believe. I think it was the 50s. And then the very great work, the seminal film Marjo, I think it just says it was his last kind of falling out of favor with the church, and like kind of just going on and making kind of a quick buck or two at admittedly a little bit maybe disingenuous maybe, but at the same time he kind of was also kind of showing them how false their whole, I guess, all the racketeering was, how rife the church was with that, especially the Pentecostal, like charismatic church movements. So I wanted to get that kind of in bed, or include a lot of that kind of the element of churches that are very charismatic but have like a little substance. Kind of Louisiana, kind of this is where takes place, but he's like goes on a kind of trek of like a sojourn, I guess, across, and part of the times he keeps kind of alternating between two extreme lifestyles, and one of them is like it's like this Nietzschean kind of Zarathustra, in the sense that he's like one part of him goes up and then collects all the honey like the bee, and then he's like one part of him he's like one part of him sees the solitude and the stuff of the ascetic kind of monkish lifestyle, and then he's collected everything that he's needed to do, and now he's like coming down from the mountain. He's down going, and now he's like, that's like one of the oldest kind of, not just Nietzsche, but that's kind of one of the oldest kind of stories of all time, pretty much the archetypal kind of, not really the kind of the lame kind of Joseph Campbell one, but the journey, the hero's journey. I think that's that of the Buddha, where the Buddha's kind of entire core being, like when he was a prince, Siddhartha, who lived like literally like 5,000 years before Christ. So it's impressive that they're able to kind of that his legacy kind of lived on, despite him saying, "Don't worship me, don't like." But anyway, so I just wanted to kind of point out certain things about the Buddha, because there's the Buddha nature. There's like different kinds, and the Zen koans and stuff teach, and I think with him is that Siddhartha was he was a prince. He was one of the like most affluent, well-off princes ever, but he was kept in a bubble, and this kind of bubble world of like stability and financial, everything he needed, and he had health, and he had women and everything he needed, but then he saw like one little hint of death. I think it was a sick man he saw being carried on I don't know what he was. I don't know what he was. So if it was a sick, somebody it might have been somebody dying. It might have been kind of the trailing off, and the kind of vestigial little parts of a funeral or some kind of, and then so he saw that, and that kind of completely tumbled his entire worldview down. He was like, oh no, like everything's a lie. So this is where the idea of that in Buddhism, there's like the great, this kind of illusion, everything, the world is this illusion, this is, and that really rings true with German idealism, with Schopenhauer, and extending even onto Nietzsche too. With Nietzsche was a lot less naysayer. He was a lot less of a Schopenhauerian as the older he got, even though he started out being one in his early 20s when he first read The World as Will and Representation. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling things off. But he also, he also was an admirer more of like Michel Montaigne, and these German moralists, and the transcendentalist kind of people too, the American transcendentalists, which I didn't know at first. I think until John Cagg, Hiking with Nietzsche, which I'd like to review one of these days, was pointed out that this idea of nature and being and this idea of hiking, and getting the blood flowing, and this idea of of eternal recurrence, and like very much thought, and that kind of lapped over nicely, I think, with overlaid, I'd rather say, pretty nicely with this idea of the transcendental kind of sentiment of like quiet, the quiet desperation is probably the biggest one of was that Henry David Thoreau. I get that him and Ralph Waldo Emerson, but Emerson was the one who talked about the giant, the transparent eyeball, the eyeball of, I want to be, completely immersing all things that I see with this eyeball. I've become this, which was the part of the postscript, the prescript, or rather, or the of my little story, I think, that I wrote, my novel, my first novel, um, and I thought that was kind of fitting. But I also want to kind of move on from that novel and not mention it ever again, because I've already mentioned it more so. Um, but yeah, so with this, I want to kind of make it the style of it, like style of it is Ul, the character, is both an everyman and also very odd. He's, I don't know, all these kind of these back and forths between, the universal and the individual, like, I think are very, I don't know, we get so many different, roles that were prescribed in this kind of, especially in a postmodern world, right? We have so many different kinds of meanings and things in different ways, but this is also kind of a strictly modern kind of thing where we have so many different kind of attitudes and different ways we can take towards life, and that's part of what I'm trying to do in the chunk of my novel, Any Other Way But Down, which is like a 1 point something million word complete echo chamber POS crap, rambling, incoherent, but at the first part of it's out there somewhere, I think on Wattpad, if you guys want to read it. I have a link in the descriptions, usually I keep, but I'm also gonna have to, I feel like I should comb through at least once more with the first kind of chunk of it, but this second chunk it's like 820,000 words or something. And that's nothing, because that's like almost a year. That's at least a year's worth of just depositing crap. And I've just made at least such a point of just writing 1,000 words a day, that it's like almost not even that hard anymore. But it can be. And I like to think of it almost as a kind of workout plan, where you're like, okay, well, there's points where it's like necessary to work 12. Not necessary, but maybe in your paradigm or whatever, because it varies from person to person. I think the John Gardner, I think the writer who was talking about on writing, he had it's interesting stuff about talking about how crafting a novel, it really depends on he had a lot of prescribed ways to doing something aside from the way that you want to talk, the way you want to, like, what do you want to start from the middle, the beginning, the end, or whatever. And that's kind of like what I find myself agreeing with him, is that there's really no way to draft a novel. And some people go all completely out and they make it they make, like, Charles Bukowski, what does he say? Is that one of his famous, find something that you love and make it, let it kill you. People find, that they'll just be like, okay, I'm going to sit here for hours and hours and hours. I find that very difficult, personally. I'm not just going to try to make excuses, I'm ADHD or I'm ADD, or that I have all these different things and I'm a kid of the modern world. But at the same time, I don't think it's actually necessary to sit there and do all that. When I wrote The Sick Man, this other one, it's about 70,000 words, a little over, and it's so close to being done, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to send it off to get officially edited, because I think I don't know, if to get a copy edited, or if somebody, because I feel like I don't know if I'm ready to, it's supposed to be kind of a little bit funnier in a kind of morbid way, of the characters of Dr. Matheson / Dr. Fix-It. He's very much just kind of a mad scientist archetype, and I'm just really just going all out with that, the image of just of a eugenics kind of crazed madman trying to configure and mass completely the entire human race, I guess. Like he's trying to like recreate like kind of a, you know, a beyond like kind of like a warped kind of version of like Nietzsche's Übermensch, except extended and transposed over to um like like it's not even like alien things too. That's like what I see a lot with like people. Like it's a thing we all see, we all know about it, but nobody wants to talk about it. It's things like people who get so much plastic surgery, get so much like ridiculous amounts of like rhinoplasty, not just the basic kind of cosmetic kind of things, or I'm gonna get a lip filler and stuff like that. It's so out of hand. People have gone Bogdanov brothers on it. And a fun fact, I actually when I was in France a few years ago, I saw a little cutout cardboard celebrity store where they had like all the kind of the kitschy kind of stars of France, and I was like, oh right, they're the Bog brothers, and they died too of COVID. Rest in peace. Yeah, but like the whole meme of that, I guess that, you know, probably one of the only funny kind of memes that kind of held up and that held to the test of time was that they, you know, they reach like perfect evolution or something. That, and I wanted to kind of add that kind of flavor of like absurdity, I guess, of like, and the funniest thing about the Bogdanov brothers was the fact that they got like they continuously denied up until the very end any kind of genetic like any kind of like surgery or cosmetic surgery or whatever and plastic surgery. So yeah, so I kind of lost track. Anyway, didn't expect to talk about that, did I? So anyway, but yeah, so here's things about all the things, and very like very stuff like that I wrote today. It's like bits. There's two kinds of things that I write. There's ideas that I have, where I have like an idea. Like one idea was came to me a few days ago. And here's the thing, because this is the thing where when I get into the whole, I'm gonna probably split this into two parts, two bits. There's one part of me that's like, that has no idea like how good or shitty I am. So I'm continuously running through a loop of like of self-doubt, but like then an oscillation between that and like complete overconfidence in my stuff, where I'll just be like, oh, this is actually really, really great, and I'll continue, like I'll be like laughing at my stuff, not to say or I'll be like, whoa, that's a really good prose, that's a really good slew of words that came out of my mouth, it's a really good word crafting, and like when I do use over the top language in 10-cent words, it's usually applied to a certain character, and I'm aware that the character is utilizing like ha ha ha, like a very kind of tongue-in-cheek postmodern kind of meta modern stuff, but it's all in the kind of guise of creative fiction, so I have freedom to do that stuff, so I can mention stuff like Carl Jung or Nietzsche or Schopenhauer or I don't know, various philosophers like I don't know, drawing a blank, and then even like I don't know, Bernardo Castro, I don't know, stuff, opinions on stuff like Rupert Sheldrake or whatever, even though I haven't really read much of him, or I don't know, I just kind of, I have the freedom to kind of do these things, but the self-doubt mainly comes from like, is the stuff that I write, is it really that good? Like, for example, Modern Omens, Tournaments of Greysdale, The Elemental Pardoning, Snowball Maneuvers, books to get you through the apocalypse. And then that's like these. That makes me think, because I know for a fact that that could be when I come up with stuff. It's usually, and this is how I've been doing it for at least the past, I don't know, 7, 8. How far ago was like 2016, 2017? Almost a freaking decade ago. But so like at least for like the last 7 or 8 years, I've been doing this kind of thing, writing a little bits of prose and stuff like that and stuff. But for the most part, it was like then, you know, little novellas and stuff that I never dared to show anybody. Characters, poet. But I attribute these people thing to the poet, and it could be interpret that, or it could be a lyric, because I have another document that I offset stuff to, which is it's just called, wait for it, January 2017 song ideas. And that's, even though most of the time it's not even really song ideas, it's mostly just lyrics. It's an emporium to just kind of offshoot all the lyrics and that I have, and then when I'm writing, because I usually, when I write a song, I'll sit down and I'll think, oh, this is a nice tune that I want to do. I want to use this kind of chord progression, or make it something simpler, or something more stripped down, and then I'll do that, and then I'll be, oh, well, I'll add lyrics after I craft the entire song or whatever. And then that's usually what I do, because I usually don't. There are some exceptions, like the Sisyphus song off my Greek-themed Hephaestus album. That was one of those rare ones where I was like, Sisyphus, roll that stone, down, 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 something like that. And then I kind of worked it around, and then reworked the chord progression or whatever, and the tuning to kind of match the spirit of Sisyphus's plight. But yeah. And then I heard Randy Bird did one that was already, and I was like, no, Randy Bird's already, I like it. I love Randy Bird stuff. But I wasn't trying to make it a homage to that, because I kind of, not to be fair, I thought of it independently. I think of most of the stuff, because I was already, not to say that, ooh, I've seized, or I'm I don't know. But anyway, but yeah, so certain things, like this was what my, like, liquid courage. And that's why you'll see, if you go to my YouTube, my music channel, which is just Andrew B, you'll see a lot of it's like the left brain stuff. Left brain stuff. That's where all my left brain, very, very left brain stuff. And then all my right, oh no, wait. I'm just kidding. That's not really how it works. Ian McGill's, I'm sorry. Liquid courage, straight diet, marching orders, moving target 101. Can't get far with it. Like, moving target. Oh, well, rhymes with moving target. Far with it. No, that doesn't rhyme. Not everything has to rhyme. Holding fort. Like, I could just say that. Or, I thought about this thing, like, togethering. That sounds like an album title. It could be an instrumental thing. Maybe a little bit like Nine Inch Nails. I'm not Finn Resner Atticus roster. For the special someone, we did it better. We did it better than anyone. Hold up, Captain Stranger. I also have, like, weird kind of cheesy, corny movie idea stuff of, like, oh, this would be funny if it was the title of some dumb movie or something, like Fishmongerers. Sounds like a dumb, like a band. I don't know. Like, it's just. Because at least as the stuff that I thought when I was like 21 was similar to that stuff. It was like, if you like look back to all the stuff, hence why this is called January 2017, because I didn't really ever bother to change, because I was like, it's already embedded in the way it is, and I'm just gonna kind of, it's everything I have is like a kind of organized mess, kind of, it's has everything I need in a way that is intuitive and I can grasp. But if it's the second I try to offset this to other people, I'm gonna have a lot of bad luck. It's not. Another thing too is, like, I'm not trying to be like, well, Franz Kafka, people like him, or Bruno Schultz, and all these wonderful writers during the time that had unpublished stuff, or bits of prose and notebooks and stuff, like Fernando Pessoa. Ooh, people went at their, people kept their stuff. People went to the trouble. Max Brod, a very good friend, very patient, went to the trouble of, of editing their stuff and executing their stuff too, like putting it out there. And I'm not trying to be like, ooh, look at me, I'm the unsung hero here. Ooh, look at this, look at my, ooh, I'm the unsung kind of Kafka-esque guy. And like, no, I'm not saying I'm anything like Kafka, but I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice? Rest in peace, Brian Eno. This is my ADHD focus, but would it be nice if just once, if the stuff that I had, just once, if like any of the shred of the writing that I have that's like on everybody's head, if somebody, not even that I didn't have to pay hundreds upon hundreds of dollars, because to get this thing edited, I did have a little estimate on Reedsy. Guess what? It cost, someone said an estimate of like, oh, well, if you're gonna look into getting a 1 million word thing copy edited, or the basic kind of editing, a generous estimate would be, generous for me, as in, would be almost, I think it was like $20,000. That's like enough to put a down payment on a goddamn house. Like I'm not gonna do that. So therefore, sweet people out there in the cyberspace of this world, and this world is constantly like eating up. I'm being so sophist here, of eating up brain rot, stupid crap of people making I don't know, brain rot, stupid, artificial generated slop content of like the songs, everything slop content. I've seen musicians give up. I've seen perfectly fine musicians give up on just like in falling for the algorithm nowadays, whatever sells, and they're just like, oh, I'm just gonna do AI slop. And I'm like, please, like you could just make something and just risk making something. And that's and I'm not asking. I don't know. I'm not asking for a miracle, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not trying to say I'm any better or worthy of anybody's time. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice if somebody came along after I'm gone? If I don't make it to my, let's say, if I got in a car accident or something and I die tomorrow. This is some Gary V stuff, like Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, you have to ignore. Imagine that your family, your 5 of your closest friends, die tomorrow in the worst possible way. Thanks, Stoic, Mr. Stoic, Epictetus, modern day Stoic, Gary V. Vaynerchuk. Yeah. No, I don't watch Gary V. I just watched people making fun of Gary V. That's what I like to do. Because I think it's entertaining. But yeah, I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice? What am I thinking? If I died tomorrow, would anybody out there, like, I don't know, because I don't have a lot of money to my name, so, but if somebody just, I don't know, gave some time and tried to, flesh out my stuff, or at least kind of whittled it down into something sensible for the world in a sense, but then at the same time, it's like Flannery O'Connor stuff, where her stuff, like she said, it's like it's not meant to make you feel good. It's not meant to comfort you. Like, she wants you to feel uncomfortable, kind of. So that's kind of my MO here and there, I guess. It just depends, because it's like, I don't know. And but yeah, I'm gonna stop this here, and I'll probably do another one of these in a little bit. And yeah, thanks for watching if you made it through this far, and